My life's first chapter began in what you might call a household, but it felt more like a sect. Dad and Mom, they were the kind you'd expect in a strict, old-timey movie. Dad was the king, and Mom, well, she was more like the enforcer of his laws. "Hannah, listen here." Dad would start, his voice booming through our small house. "In this world, a woman listens. That's her power." Mom nodded, always backing him up. "Your voice is in your silence. Remember that." I was Hannah, their only kid, tangled up in this web of rules. No friends over, no loud music, and definitely no talking back. Ever. Grandma, on the other hand, was different. She lived a few blocks away, but might as well have been from another planet. Whenever she visited, the house felt lighter, freer. One day, Grandma came over, her usual bubbly self, but Dad wasn't having it. "This girl needs to learn discipline, not fairy tales," he snapped as Grandma tried to sneak me a chocolate bar. "Discipline's one thing, John. Crushing her spirit's another," Grandma retorted, her tone sharper than I'd ever heard it. She wasn't one to back down, not even to Dad. Their arguments were the soundtrack of my childhood, a mix of Dad's stern lectures and Grandma's attempts to sprinkle some joy into my life. It wasn't all bad, though. Mom taught me to cook, claiming it was my ticket to a good marriage. "A man wants a woman who can feed him well," she'd say, stirring the pot as I chopped vegetables. Dad's lessons were more about obedience. "A quiet wife is a happy life," he'd chuckle, without a hint of irony. I learned early on to keep my mouth shut and my opinions to myself. School was my escape, the only place I could be a bit more me, but even there, I was the quiet one. The teachers barely knew I existed, and the kids, well, they didn't bother with the girl who hardly spoke. Then came the day that changed everything. I was 13, hiding in my room as usual, when Grandma barged in, her eyes fiery. "Pack a bag, Hannah. You're coming with me." Dad's protests were loud and furious. "You can't take her. She's our daughter." But Grandma stood her ground. "I won't watch you bury her spirit under your rules. She's coming with me." And just like that, I was whisked away to Grandma's house. It was the first breath of fresh air I'd ever taken. Her home was chaos in comparison, books everywhere, music always playing, and laughter, so much laughter. "Here, you'll learn to speak, to argue, and to be yourself," Grandma promised. And I believed her. For the first time, I dared to dream of something different. But old habits die hard. Despite Grandma's efforts, the shadows of my upbringing lingered. I grew up shy and withdrawn, finding solace in the anonymity of the internet. Web design became my voice, a way to express myself without having to speak. Life with Grandma was like living in a different universe compared to my parents' house. She encouraged me to find my voice, to speak up, but years of conditioning don't just vanish overnight. So, when she mentioned setting me up with someone, my first instinct was to retreat into my shell. "He's coming over for dinner next week," Grandma announced one day, casual as if she was talking about the weather. I froze, spoon halfway to my mouth. "What? Why?" "Because you're 30, living like a hermit. It's time you met someone," she said, her tone brooking no argument. "But I don't know him. What if he's like Dad?" The words tumbled out before I could stop them. Grandma sighed, setting her cup down with a clink. "Not everyone is like your father, Hannah. This boy, I've known his family for years. He's different." I wasn't convinced. "And what if I don't like him? What then?" "Then you don't like him. But you'll at least try, won't you?" Her eyes were pleading. Against my better judgment, I nodded. What was the worst that could happen? The day he was supposed to come over, I was a bundle of nerves. I changed my outfit 3 times, paced a hole in my carpet, and contemplated faking an illness more than once. "He's here," Grandma called out, her voice tinged with excitement. I took a deep breath, steeling myself, before walking into the living room. There he was, standing awkwardly by the door, a bouquet of flowers in hand. He was taller than I expected, with kind eyes and a tentative smile. "Hi, I'm Michael," he said, extending a hand. "I'm Hannah," I replied, my voice barely above a whisper as I shook his hand. Grandma swooped in then, all charm and warmth. "Let's have dinner. Hannah's made her famous lasagna." Dinner was a blur of conversation, mostly led by Grandma. Michael talked about his job, his hobbies, which, surprisingly, included a lot of outdoor activities. He seemed normal, nice even. And he listened, really listened when I spoke, which wasn't often. After dinner, we found ourselves alone in the living room, Grandma having excused herself with a wink. "So, your grandma tells me you're into web design?" Michael started, breaking the silence. I nodded, grateful for the familiar territory. "Yeah, I've been doing it for a few years now." "That's cool. I'm hopeless with technology myself. Can barely manage my email." He laughed, and it was an easy, infectious sound. We talked more after that, about everything and nothing. He asked about my work, seemed genuinely interested in my passion for design, and shared funny stories about his failed attempts at cooking. It was nice. Easier than I thought it would be. For the first time, I found myself wishing the evening wouldn't end. After a few dates, I realized I was falling for him, hard. It was a whirlwind, something I'd never felt before. Michael was everything I never knew I needed. Then came the day he introduced me to his mother. She was polite, her smile a bit too tight, her eyes scanning me like I was a puzzle to figure out. "It's so nice to finally meet you, Hannah. Michael has told us so much about you," she said, her voice sweet, but with an edge I couldn't place. "Thank you, Mrs. Thompson. It's nice to meet you too," I managed, trying to match her politeness. The wedding was simple, just how we wanted it. But as we moved into Michael's family home, I felt a familiar unease settle over me. Moving into Michael's family home felt like stepping into a time machine that took me back to the rigid discipline of my childhood. His mother, Mrs. Thompson, wasted no time setting the ground rules, her expectations towering like skyscrapers around me. The first morning I woke up in their house, the air was thick with anticipation, or maybe it was just expectation. I stumbled into the kitchen, where Mrs. Thompson was already up, sitting at the table like she was holding court. "Good morning," I mumbled, still groggy from sleep. "Morning, dear. Now, listen, we have a way of doing things around here. You'll start by taking over the kitchen duties. Breakfast at 7, lunch at noon, and dinner at 6. And I expect the house to be spotless. Understood?" Her tone was matter-of-fact, no room for negotiation. I nodded, a lump forming in my throat. "Understood." Michael just passed through the kitchen, pecking me on the cheek as he went. "Thanks, babe. Mom's a great teacher, you'll learn a lot from her." Every morning became a marathon. I'd wake up before dawn, trying to piece together a breakfast that would finally please her, then shuffle to my laptop to catch up on my web design orders. Hours would blur into a cycle of cooking, cleaning, and working, only to start all over again with dinner preparations for Michael, who'd come home with expectations of his own. Mrs. Thompson never lifted a finger, content to patrol the house, pointing out every speck of dust or a dish not done to her standards. Compliments were foreign words in her vocabulary, only criticisms made their way out, always delivered with a scowl. Things took a turn for the worse when they discovered how much I was earning from my web design. Suddenly, my income was no longer mine. "You're part of this family now, Hannah. It makes sense for you to contribute to the household," Michael had said, his hand outstretched for my bank card. "But I do contribute. I cook, clean, and..." I protested, but he cut me off. "Yeah, but money is different. It's for the household, for us," he insisted, his tone brooking no argument. From that point on, my earnings went straight into his account. Every penny I made from toiling over my laptop, from dealing with clients who thought the world revolved around their websites, was no longer mine to call my own. The irony wasn't lost on me. Here I was, making decent money, yet I had to ask Michael for cash to buy groceries or any household necessities. "Hey, I need some money for the market tomorrow. I'd say, my voice small, hating that I had to ask. How much? He'd reply, always with a hint of suspicion, as if I was asking for money to fund a secret escape plan. Just enough for the week's groceries and some cleaning supplies, I'd answer, trying to keep my voice steady. He'd hand me a wad of cash, never quite enough, always making sure I'd come back for more, keeping me tethered, dependent. This wasn't the life I'd envisioned when I said I do. I was trapped in a cycle of servitude, with my earnings fueling a household that didn't respect me, working under the thumb of a mother-in-law who saw me more as a maid than a family member, and a husband who supported every bit of it. Months of bending over backwards for Michael and his mom, and it was always the same. That Tuesday, the overcooked pasta was the last straw. Mrs. Thompson went off, her voice dripping with disdain. "This mush is what you call dinner?" I stood there, feeling more like a scolded child than a wife. "Sorry, it just got away from me." "Got away from you?" Mrs. Thompson snorted, as if I'd said the world's funniest joke. Michael wasn't any better, echoing his mom like some parrot. "Hannah, you've been off your game. What's going on?" Their words stung. Here I was, juggling my web design work in any spare moment, only to be slammed for one mistake. "I'm doing the best I can," I muttered, but it was like talking to a wall. "Best? This?" Michael's laugh was short and anything but sweet. That night, something inside me clicked. It wasn't about the damn pasta. It was about me, about how I was losing myself in trying to please them. I found myself pouring my heart out on a web design forum, of all places. Typing out my frustrations felt like letting go of a breath I didn't know I was holding. Jess, a forum regular, hit me with something I hadn't considered. "This sounds like psychological abuse, Hannah. Ever read up on it?" Psychological abuse? I spent the whole night diving into articles and stories. It was like reading about my own life, but through someone else's words. Come morning, and my grandma called me, but I couldn't bring myself to spill everything. Just tiptoed around the edges. "Just having a bit of a tough time," I said, playing it down. "Hannah, you know you can tell me anything, right?" Grandma's voice was soft, worried. "I know, Grandma. I'm just trying to figure some stuff out. Nothing major," I lied. I couldn't bear the thought of her worrying over me. But after we hung up, I dove deeper into psychology. I hid the books from Michael and his mom, reading in secret, trying to understand this mess my life had become. It was like assembling a puzzle, each piece revealing a bit more of the truth. The more I read, the more I saw my situation laid bare. The manipulation, the control, it was all there in black and white. But I kept quiet about it, especially around Grandma. I didn't want her to know how bad things had gotten. Then, one day, everything changed. I was just out to grab some groceries, a brief escape from the suffocating atmosphere at home, when a car came out of nowhere. The impact was sudden, shocking, and then everything went black. Waking up in the hospital, my body a patchwork of casts and bandages, I was disoriented, scared, but relieved to be alive. That relief evaporated the moment Michael and his mother stormed into my room, their faces twisted not with worry, but anger. Michael was the first to break the silence, his voice a venomous snarl. "Great, just great. I've had to cook for myself, because of this." "What were you thinking?" His mother, ever the picture of compassion, added. "And I'm stuck cleaning up. You better not be planning to laze around here for long." I stared at them, disbelief battling with the pain throbbing through my body. "I was hit by a car. I have fractures, I can't just get up and..." "Excuses, always excuses with you." Michael cut me off. "When will you stop pretending and start pulling your weight again?" Their cruelty was almost too much to bear. Almost. But something inside me, something that had been growing stronger over these past weeks, refused to break. The doctor chose that moment to enter, his face a mask of professionalism. Michael immediately turned on him. "How long before she's back on her feet? We have a household to run." The doctor glanced at my chart, then back at them. She needs at least 2 months of rest. After that, we'll talk about rehabilitation. It won't be quick." Their outrage was palpable. 2 months? And who's going to pay for all this? Michael's concern for my well-being was touching, really. He then turned to me, his words like daggers. "If you think you're going to take it easy at our expense, you're mistaken. If you're not back in a month, cooking and cleaning, we're done." That's when something miraculous happened. Amidst the pain, the fear, and the disbelief, I found clarity. And with that clarity came a calm, unwavering voice I barely recognized as my own. "Then we're done. I want a divorce." The room went silent. Michael's face went white, and his mother looked as if she'd swallowed a lemon. "She must have hit her head too hard," she muttered to her son, disbelief coloring her tone. They left soon after, their departure as dramatic as their entrance, leaving me alone with my thoughts and a newfound sense of freedom. Recovery was a grueling process, but it gave me something I hadn't had in a long time: clarity and a plan. When Michael showed up at the hospital with divorce papers, his face was a mask of smug certainty. He clearly expected me to fall apart, to beg him to stay. Instead, I took the pen with my right hand, thankfully not broken, and signed my name with a steadiness that surprised even me. "You'll be back," he said, his voice oozing arrogance. "You can't handle life on your own." He left a bag with my things and my laptop by the bed, a final gesture of dismissal. But instead of feeling discarded, I felt a surge of liberation. I was free. The weeks passed. I returned to my grandma. She accepted me without words or reproaches. With her help, I found strength I didn't know I possessed. Then, Michael and his mother appeared at Grandma's doorstep, demanding explanations, as if they were entitled to any part of my life anymore. "You can't just sue us," Michael blustered, waving some papers in my face. "On what grounds?" I met his gaze, calm and unflinching. "Psychological abuse, for starters. And for taking my earnings without my consent." "I have recordings, Michael. Everything." The color drained from his face. "Recordings? Hannah, please, you don't understand. This could ruin me." His mother, tears streaming down her face, joined in. "Please, we didn't mean any harm. You have to forgive us." It was almost comical, seeing them so desperate, so afraid. For months, they'd made me feel small, insignificant. But now, the tables were turned. "No," I said, my voice firm. "I want you both out of my life. For good." As they stumbled away, Grandma turned to me, awe and pride in her eyes. "I never knew you had it in you," she said. "Neither did I, Grandma," I admitted. "But I do now." After kicking Michael and his mother out, I felt a mix of emotions swirling inside me. Yet, above all, there was a prevailing sense of triumph. I had stood up to them, used their own deceit and malice against them. The court date couldn't come soon enough. I was ready, armed with evidence and a newfound steel in my spine. The courtroom was intimidating, its high ceilings echoing back every whispered word and shuffled footstep. Michael was there, looking less confident than I'd ever seen him, his mother by his side, her usual harsh demeanor replaced with something akin to fear. As we were called forward, I took a deep breath. My lawyer, a no-nonsense woman with a sharp wit, laid out our case with precision. Michael's lawyer tried to downplay the evidence, painting him as a supportive husband who was blindsided by my accusations. Then, it was my turn to speak. Standing there, facing the judge, Michael, and everyone in that room, I found my voice didn't waver. "Your Honor, I lived in what I thought was a loving home. But over time, it became my prison. The psychological abuse, the control over my finances. I have proof of all of it." Michael's lawyer interrupted. "Your Honor, these accusations are exaggerated. My client has always had the best intentions." I couldn't help but snort at that. Best intentions don't involve secretly recording conversations and controlling every aspect of someone's life. The judge held up a hand for silence, reviewing the recordings I'd submitted, the bank statements, the messages. After what felt like an eternity, he looked up. It's clear to this court that Mrs. Thompson has suffered significant psychological abuse at the hands of Mr. Thompson and his mother. The evidence is compelling and supports her claims fully. The judgment was in my favor. Not only was the divorce granted, but Michael and his mother were ordered to pay damages and return every penny they took from me. Outside the courthouse, Grandma wrapped me in a tight hug. "I'm so proud of you," she whispered. "Thanks, Grandma. It feels like I can finally start living my life." Word got around, as it tends to do in small towns and big cities alike. Michael's reputation took a nosedive after the court's decision became public. Turns out, when you're labeled an abuser, people start seeing you differently. The bosses didn't take kindly to the negative attention. Demoted, he was. And the clients? They vanished like smoke. Couldn't blame them. Who wants to deal with a man who treats his wife like that? Then there's the former Queen Bee, his mother. The social circle she once ruled with an iron fist? Well, let's just say they scattered. Friends, acquaintances, even the nosy neighbors started giving her the cold shoulder. Her throne crumbled, leaving her with nothing but her bitterness and a son whose life she helped tarnish. Kicking off this new chapter in my life, I knew I had to tackle the demons of my past head-on if I was ever going to truly move forward. That's why, even before I started packing boxes or looking for new places by the coast, I found myself sitting in a psychologist's office, Dr. Lee's office, to be precise. It was a step I never imagined taking, but there I was, ready to peel back layers of my life that I had kept sealed away. Dr. Lee's office was a stark contrast to the turmoil inside me, a calm, inviting space filled with books and plants, sunlight filtering through the window. I remember our first meeting clearly. "So, what's been going on?" Dr. Lee asked, her tone gentle, yet direct. I sighed, a mix of nerves and relief at being able to finally talk to someone who could help me untangle the mess. Where do I even start? My whole life's been about pleasing others, staying quiet, being the good girl. And then my marriage, it was more of the same, but worse. Much worse. "We'll take it one step at a time," she assured me, her voice steady and reassuring. "You're here now, and that's what matters." Those sessions with Dr. Lee became my sanctuary, a place where I could confront my fears, my past, and start the healing process. It wasn't easy, far from it, but it was necessary. And bit by bit, I started feeling like I was taking control of my narrative for the first time. One crisp morning, over breakfast, Grandma and I plotted my next moves. The sunlight streamed through the kitchen window, casting warm glows on our plans laid out on the table. "So, where to first?" Grandma asked, her eyes twinkling with excitement and a hint of mischief. "I'm thinking the coast. Always wanted to live near the ocean," I mused, spreading jam over my toast. "Fresh start, fresh scenery." "Sounds lovely. And work? You going back to web design?" she inquired, sipping her tea. I nodded. "Yeah, but on my terms this time. Freelance, maybe pick up some new skills along the way. Who knows? The sky's the limit." Grandma chuckled. "Just don't go skydiving on me, okay? My heart can't take it." "No promises," I teased, earning a playful swat with a napkin. The laughter, the easy banter, it felt good. Healing, even. The next weeks were a whirlwind of activity. Packing up, saying goodbye to the few friends I'd made, and preparing for the move. It was bittersweet, leaving the safety of Grandma's home, but the thrill of a new beginning was intoxicating. The day I left for the coast, Grandma hugged me tight at the doorstep. "Remember, you're stronger than you think. And you're never alone." "I'll remember," I promised, fighting back tears. "Thank you for everything, Grandma." As I drove away, I didn't look back. The road ahead, with its twists and turns, beckoned. Settling into my new coastal town was like breathing fresh air for the first time. The sea was a constant companion, its roars and whispers a soothing balm to my soul. I found a small studio apartment with a view of the water, my very own slice of heaven. Starting anew wasn't without its challenges. Finding work, making new friends, it all took effort. But for the first time in a long time, it felt like I was living for myself, making decisions that brought me joy. I dove into the freelance world, my web design skills my ticket to independence. Work was steady, and soon, I found myself collaborating with clients who respected and valued my input. It was a far cry from the days of being belittled and undermined.